Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm sharing this lovely peas puri or peas roti recipe. I posted a picture the other day on Instagram and I got a lot of curious messages because a lot of you don't know about peas roti or peas puri. So I'm gonna share the recipe with you all today. It's very simple to make and I promise you all are gonna enjoy it. Growing up, I ate a lot of peas puri because we had a lot of peas trees around the house and mom would always pick the peas and I'd help her shell it, and then she'd boil it and then package it up into little individual bags, and then when she's ready to make like peas dal or peas puri or even pilau or a curry duck, she would just pull out a bag of peas from the freezer and put it into whatever she's gonna cook. So I'm happy to share my mom's recipe for peas puri or peas roti, and I hope you all give it a try. This will be perfect for Diwali, which is coming up soon. I know a lot of you are fasting and you're asking for vegan and vegetarian recipes, so this one is perfect. It goes great with any types of curry, stew, or actually it even goes good by itself. That's how I like to eat it, just plain by itself, because I season it up really well. It's just so colorful and vibrant, and I just love how it looks and how it tastes. It's just the perfect roti. So I hope you all enjoy the video. So to get started, I'm first going to make the dough that I'm going to fill the peas into. So I have some flour. This is just plain all-purpose flour. I have salt, baking powder and sugar. And the sugar is just going to give the dough a very nice color. And you'll need some water to pull everything together. I'm using some lukewarm tap water. So I'm just going to add the flour to the bowl. And to the flour, I'm going in with the sugar, the salt and the baking powder. And all the exact measurements that I have here will be listed in the description box below. So I'm using my hand to do this. If you want to do this in a stand mixer, you can. So I'm just incorporating everything into the flour. So once all the dry ingredients are incorporated, you want to go ahead and add your water a little at a time. So this is how I like to knead the dough. Add some water. And then you're just gonna grab up some of the dry ingredients until it forms a clump. And then you keep doing that and grabbing your clumps of dough until you get one big clump. So once your dough is pulled together into one nice big dough ball, now all you're going to do is continue kneading the dough for about 5 to 8 minutes. And you want your bowl to be dry. When you're making any type of filled rotis like Dhalpuri, Yam Puri, Peas Puri, Aloo Puri, you want to make sure that the dough develops enough gluten so that when you're rolling it out, it doesn't rip apart, or even when you're filling it, it doesn't rip. So we're going to continue kneading this until a good amount of gluten has developed, and then we'll set it aside. I'll just finish kneading it here. So after 5 minutes of kneading, as you can see, we have a nice smooth dough. Not too stiff, not too soft. It's just in between. So all I'm going to do is let this sit. I'm going to cover it with a damp paper towel. I'm going to let it sit for about 20 minutes and then I'll come back and we'll form our little dough balls. So while the roti dough sits or soaks, I'm going to work on the pigeon peas. So to my pot of boiling water, I'm going to add some frozen pigeon peas in there. Usually we'd use fresh pigeon peas for this, but the only thing I have here is frozen. So there are a variety of brands at the grocery. You can choose whichever one works for you. If you're using fresh pigeon peas, you also want to boil it. What my mom does is she boils all the pigeon peas from the garden, and then she separates them into little Ziploc bags and she puts them in the freezer. And when she's ready to make peas puri or any dish with peas in it, she'll just pull out one of the bags and use it in her dish. So I'm letting the peas boil for about 10 minutes and then I'll strain it and wash it out. So my dough has been sitting for about 20 minutes. I'm just gonna take that damp paper towel off. And if you notice, the top of the dough is very nice and glossy. It's not dry or anything. So instead of placing the damp paper towel, you can also just place a layer of oil just so that it doesn't form a skin on the top. So now that the dough is rested, or now that it's soaked, I'm going to separate them. And I use 2 cups of flour. Usually if I use 2 cups, I'll get 5 little dough balls. And the reason I'm making them so small is because when you fill them, they're going to get even bigger. And we don't want too much of a thick roti. So now that my dough balls are made, I think they all look similar sized. So that's good. Now that they're made, I'm just going to cover them again and let them sit for the next 10 minutes. So the peas boiled for about 10 minutes. Well, about 10 to 12 minutes. And I washed it out. It's nice and cool now. So I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. So after adding the salt to the peas, you can either use a pestle to mash the peas. You can use a blender, a food processor. I'm gonna put this in the food processor because it's gonna be easier. So I'm gonna blend this up a little bit until it's pureed, and then I'll come back and show you how to season it up. So as you can see, my peas are nice and pureed and it looks like baby food. So all I want to do is just kind of dry this out. So I just put it into this dry pot and I'm just going to stir it for a little bit just to kind of dehydrate it and to just dry it up, because I don't want to fill the dough with anything wet, because then that would be bad. So I'm just going to keep stirring it in the pot just for about 5 minutes, and then I'll take it off. You'll see the peas starting to stick to the bottom of the pot. When it kind of happens excessively, then you know that it's starting to dry out, and then you can turn it off. I'm gonna turn it off now. It seems like it's ready. I don't want too much to stick to the bottom of the pot. I'm gonna take the peas out and I'm gonna set it aside until we're ready to use it. So now that my peas is nice and dry and it's pureed and everything, now I'm gonna add some green seasoning in. My green seasoning doesn't look too green today because I put a lot of red pimentos, but I will leave the video to this green seasoning recipe in the info above and the description box below. It's really just a combination of pepper, garlic, and some shadow benny or bandania or culantro or ricao. And it has some curry leaves in there, or carapile leaves. So now you want to mix that thoroughly, because you want that to spread really nice and evenly when you roll out the roti. So now let's start filling up our dough balls. So my dough balls got to sit for about 15 minutes. Now we're gonna start filling them. So you want to put a little dry flour. So you're going to use your fingers and you're going to go along the edges and just open out the dough. Now you kind of want to create a little pocket. So you just push down the middle and you create like a little bowl with the dough. And into this bowl you're going to add a little bit of dry flour just to coat it. This is just so that when we roll the dough out, it's not going to burst. Then you fill it with a generous amount of peas. Now you take your thumbs, push it in, and then you just start sealing. So you're using your thumb and your index finger to seal the top, and then you can just roll it like this, just to make sure it has a nice tight seal there. So this is a dough ball filled with peas. It's the last step before becoming a peas puri. And you want to make sure you lay it out onto a floured surface. You don't want it sticking anywhere. You add some flour to the dough, both sides. And then you use your fingers to open it out. You create a bowl or a pocket. Add some flour. Add your peas filling. So what I like to do is section out the filling so that each dough ball gets the same amount. So my filled dough has been sitting for about 5 minutes. So now it's time to roll it out. I'm first going to start by flouring both sides as well as the surface that I'll be rolling it out on. So you want to make sure it stays dry at all times, because once this dough gets too moist, it tends to break or burst. So I'm going to use my fingers to press out the dough, and the filling inside the dough, I want to press it to the ends so that the filling gets distributed evenly. So you want to be very delicate because it can burst pretty easily. So after pressing it out, you want to make sure your dough as well as your surface is floured all the time. And now I'm just going to use my Bale Now rolling pin to roll out the dough as thin as possible and to a size that can fit onto your tawa. And you don't want to put too much weight or too much pressure onto the dough, so just lightly roll it. As you'll notice, it's going to roll very easily. But you don't want to roll for too long because it'll burst on you. And that looks just about ready to be put onto the tawa. To my tawa, I'm just adding a little bit of oil. This is some coconut oil. You can add some ghee or some butter or whatever you like to cook roti with. As you put it onto the tawa, you're going to brush it at the top with some of the oil. And once you see a lot of bubbles starting to form at the top, now you want to take your dabbler and turn it. So what I like to do is bring the edges in. So I'm going to bring one at a time. So I'm just going to let that edge cook. Now I'm going to bring the other side. Now that it's finished, I'm just gonna fold it. And it's finished. So if you want to get it a little more crispy or brown on this side, then just let it cook for longer. But this is how I like mine, so I'm gonna take it off. So as you can see, the rotis are finished. So this is what we call peas puri or peas roti. So let me break one. Yum! This roti is just divine. I can taste the flavors of the pigeon peas and those fresh green seasonings, and even a kick of the peppers that I added as well. The colors are just so vivid and they're peeping through that thin layer of dough. It's just an amazing sight, smell and taste. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave all your comments, questions and suggestions in the comment section below. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel to see all the latest videos. Make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!